Welcome to the Fortified Podcast. It's good to have you. Today we have with us Dr. Jones from Apex One Wellness. It's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited?
Good to be here.
Can't
Absolutely.
reach around this mic
yeah,
here.
That's okay. Me too.
No, I've been really excited to have this one. You know, Fortified Fitness and our Fortified brands is all about helping people. Medical side's been tough. You know, you got a lot of peptides and hormone balancing, and you got a lot of people that are doing it just for the money. And then you do have some people that are doing it trying to help people. And we want to help people. We don't do the medical here because we're not doctors. We're a fitness facility. But our goal is to give them every opportunity to hit their goals. And our bodies, I feel, as we age, needs help.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to read your little bio here to get us started. Let people know kind of who we're about to talk to here. So Dr. Richard Jones is a chiropractor, Army medic veteran, wellness expert, and founder of Apex One Wellness. But more importantly, he's someone who has spent his life helping others heal, both professionally and personally. His journey includes serving as a medic, raising two sons who suffered significant birth-related brain injuries, supporting his wife through life-threatening medical complications, overcoming his own health struggles, losing more than 120 pounds, recovering from severe burn injuries, and ultimately turning those experiences into a mission to help others live healthier lives. Today, through his work with veterans, first responders, and families, Dr. Jones continues to prove that some of life's greatest challenges can become our greatest purpose. That's a very cool bio.
Yeah.
Very cool bio.
It's kind of humbling sounding, you know, when I hear that like that. It's like, wow, that's a lot of stuff to go through. But then the other side, unfortunately, there's people that have gone through more than I've gone through. So, you know, I figure, like I said in there, I figure I'm in the middle somewhere. But, you know, what I think I've experienced, I haven't figured out why I've had to go through what I've gone through. That's beyond my pay grade. But, you know, my only thought is there's somebody out there that's thought I'm supposed to be doing this for some sort of purpose, and I'm supposed to figure out and learn something from this. So maybe I can impart that and help somebody else out with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I always like to kind of go through the beginning, you know, of your history. So tell us a little bit about where you were born, your parents, any siblings.
Yeah. Oh, pardon me. Okay, so you can't fault me too bad because I was born in San Diego. So, but I left in '87, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Only child. My mom had me where she was, I guess, 16 when I was born. So she was single and had to drop out of school. Did some night stuff to get her finish high school and worked during the day. And we were in kind of project housing for a while, and you know, kind of grew up that way for a short period of time. She was injured during my delivery. Apparently, the doctor was intoxicated, and she was injured and couldn't have any more children. So I'm an only child from that standpoint.
The doctor was intoxicated when you were born?
Yep, apparently so, and didn't do things the way it was supposed to be done. And she had a bunch of injuries from it that she ended up having to have a hysterectomy from, and so she couldn't have any more children as a consequence of that.
Wow, so you're an only child.
Only child, yep, only child from that standpoint. So did that, and you know, it's kind of interesting. It was a little odd. I grew up in San Diego, so I fished as a sport, like deep sea fishing. Yeah. But my big sport was snow skiing. So yeah, I'm in San Diego. I'm about 8 miles from the ocean, about 12 miles from Tijuana. But my sport was snow skiing.
Interesting.
So did snow skiing. You know, I grew up without a father for, you know, early part of my life. I was about 6 or 7, and then a parent came in, the stepdad came in the picture, and I kind of had a father after that. But
so you didn't have your dad from birth till 6 or 7. You got a stepdad.
Yep, got a stepdad. Yeah. So I grew up as a stepchild, not father-son relationship. Sure. But you know, he was fine. I mean, but it wasn't a father-son bond at that level. You know.
How did you feel? Or were you aware when you were born up to the age of 6 or 7 that you didn't have a dad?
Yeah. I mean, he was there like when I was like an initial baby, and then I guess he had some infidelities and took off, and that was it. You know. So when I started becoming old enough to be aware of stuff, I didn't have a father. You know, at that point in time. my grandparents lived around the corner, so my grandfather was kind of the semi-father figure at that point in time.
That helps. But
Yeah. I mean, there was somebody there.
are you excited when you got the stepdad? Were you thinking, now I finally get a dad?
It never really came like that. You know, it was. I kind of came with the package, so to speak.
Yeah.
There wasn't animosity or resentment towards me or anything, but it wasn't like you're my son. Let's create that kind of a bond.
You're just the extra luggage, huh?
It was there. I mean, it wasn't any, it wasn't bad, but it was kind of neutral, a little bit-ish, you know. And but you know, it is what it was. And so that's where it all started. From that standpoint, I was on a ski patroller team, so snow skiing was that. So I did ski patroller in high school, and was on an avalanche rescue team, stuff like that.
While you were in high school? So like on the summers or winters? Or
Winter time, obviously.
Wintertime,
Yeah.
no snow in the summer over there?
No, not so much. Yeah, not a whole lot there. But we did that, and then, I mean, my parents ended up purchasing some property in Colorado. So when I graduated high school, we moved to Colorado, and I originally had planned to go to veterinarian school. And so I groomed myself for that during high school. You know, I volunteered and worked at a vet hospital and stuff like that. And then ended up applying to Colorado State University and got accepted there. And, you know, a lot of people, like high school football or baseball or whatever. And, you know, so I snow skied and did that, but I studied. And so I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I just studied a lot. And, you know, so my sport was literally sitting down and doing all-nighters and studying what I needed to do to get pretty decent grades. So,
no, we're totally opposite there, I can assure you. But, you know, let's go back to when you were a kid, because I want to hit on the point of the growing up with a single mother.
Yeah.
You know, and stepdad, 6, 7 years old. You hear this a lot around the country of, well, I'm that way because I didn't have a dad, you know. No father involved in their lives. We're going to have a podcast with a guy named Heath Evans who does a lot of work with athletes without fathers, which is going to be interesting to kind of tie this to it, you know.
Okay.
You know, how do you think you came out okay not having a dad and not having the father figure? How'd you not veer off and have legal issues or get in trouble all the time? What made you stay on the straight and narrow?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, my grandfather was there. So a little more backstory on that. So after she graduated high school, my mom ended up working like third shift, second shift stuff. So I was, you know, way young, early elementary school at that point. So when I was at school, she went to work. When I came home from school, she was at work. So I walked to my grandparents' house.
Okay.
And so I would go to my grandparents' house from school, and then I would hang out there, and then that's where I would go to bed. So I would sleep there almost all the nights during the week, and then sometimes she'd come get me or not. But when she would come get me, she'd just take me home, and I'd go back to bed, and then I'd wake up and go to school. So we were kind of passing in the night a lot. So I didn't see a whole lot.
You had that grandfather kind of as the father figure.
Yeah, that was it. And he was a mechanic. He had his own auto shop. They were from Arkansas, and they moved to California during the Depression to kind of get away from the Depression.
Yeah.
And he started an automotive repair business out there, and you know, he did well with that. So he was always doing stuff with his hands and mechanic stuff. So I was always hanging out watching him do, you know, repair and build this and do that. And, you know, he built like a fish fry, deep fryer. And so we were, you know, cooking fish fries and stuff like that. And, you know, things like that. So, you know, he was kind of my father figure from that standpoint.
Okay.
And I think that was my fun times, you know, like my best holidays were like Thanksgiving, because the cousins and the family got together and we just hung out, you know, as a family. It wasn't as much as Christmas and getting gifts. It was just more spending some time together. So I like that, the best part. But you know, I mean, like I said, my stepdad, there wasn't anything wrong necessarily. It was a stepdad, you know. Sure. And he raced motorcycles. So I started racing motorcycles and desert racing when I was about 7. I did a little bit of that. And so he spent a lot of his time out racing and doing that kind of stuff. And he actually ran the Baja 1000 a couple of years. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Second year he ran it. He took second overall in the open class, and it was just us. We didn't have any sponsors or anything. So it was a pretty interesting place to be. So we would go out and, you know, this is when 3-wheelers came about. So we just were riding 3-wheelers and dirt bikes and everything else out in the middle of the desert. And
3-wheelers are dangerous, man.
you know, everybody said that, but I never had a problem with it. But we started on motorcycles, so we learned how to lean and maneuver and do stuff. And so we did the same thing on 3-wheelers. But I think the problem is people get a 3-wheeler, 4-wheeler, but they don't know how to maneuver and navigate on them, so they just they sit on them and they flip them and stuff.
Well, I think 3-wheeler, you got to turn more than lean more, because I always tried to lean and got on 2 wheels. And then you put your foot down to save yourself from falling over, and the back tire runs you over and you fly off. I've done that a few times.
You know, I pivoted off of bikes when my sons were born after the stroke and everything, and went to side-by-sides and Can-Ams and Razors and stuff like that. And I flipped those and beat myself up more than I ever did on a motorcycle. I can't figure this one out.
All right, so back to move to Colorado.
Yeah. So
Got accepted into the college there, right?
yeah. So I just knuckled down and did a lot of studying. Again, I wasn't the best, but I was pretty decent. I graduated like 20th out of 470 in the class.
What was your major?
No, in high school.
Oh, high school. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was about 20th, I think, out of like 460 or something like that. So I got a full academic scholarship to Colorado State University with that. So,
did you know what you wanted to do already at that time?
that's why I picked Colorado State, because it's the veterinarian school.
It's going into veterinary school.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my plan, was to go ahead and go to veterinary school. Big animal guy when I was a kid, from that standpoint. So that was the plan. But I got there and I started working with another veterinarian, and she was younger when she started her practice, and you could see the altruism and the heart. But then all of a sudden, we're watching people come in. It's like, oh, we're moving, and we can't take our dogs and just put them to sleep, and stuff like that. Or somebody comes in, the dog's got a broken leg. It's like, it'll be $600 to fix the leg. And like, oh, I don't want to spend that. Just put them to sleep. It's like that dog is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with them. You just need to fix their leg. And so it turned into the business as opposed to the care of being a vet and helping animals at that point. And I saw her change. She changed, and she lost that love that she had, and it turned into a business thing. And that was hard for me to see.
So she went in it for not the right reasons, but chasing money, basically.
No. She went in to be a vet, but then in order to stay in the business, she had to turn into more of a business than be the vet, because she couldn't save every animal, because she would have had hundreds of animals everywhere. And, how do you do that and still operate a business and, make money and pay for your staff and everything else? So she just changed, and she became like dejected looking, and I think she lost what she wanted to do and realized she couldn't do why she wanted to do it in the first place. Yeah, it just was by de facto that this was the reality where she was at, and it just kind of went away for her. So I saw that, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that or not. It was just like, if people, visiting a clinic, if I had a clinic and people were bringing in dogs or cats that need to be fixed, I'm like, we can totally fix that. I'm either going to do it and go broke because I'm going to save them all, or I'm going to put them down and I'm going to feel guilty about doing that. So I was like, I don't think I can do that.
So what year in college did you start thinking about that?
Yeah. So probably about after the first year.
Oh, really quick?
Yeah. It came in pretty fast. So kind of switched into sports medicine at that point in time, and did a degree in sports medicine, and then stuff happened with my family, and I kind of got thrown under the bus a little bit by them, and so I ended up having to work to pay for my tuition and stuff. The scholarship covered everything else except for my room and board and like living expenses. Yeah. So the deal was my parents were going to take care of that. Well, they decided that cost too much, and they said, well, we're not going to pay for it anymore. So, and I am 18 by myself, and I don't have a job or anything else, and I've got a full load that I'm trying to maintain academics on and stuff like that. So I did, but I was working second shift 40 hours a week to try to cover my room and board too, because at that point I was still out-of-state tuition. And so it was expensive, from that standpoint. So I couldn't maintain the grades and work the 40-hour weeks. I know other people did. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to. So I dropped my GPA. I lost the scholarship at that point in time. All that work I put to get to it, and then it was gone. So now it's like, okay, I got out-of-state tuition. The other problem was it was kind of rough because they kept me on their tax forms. So they used me as a tax write-off, but they weren't covering anything. And so I had to legally emancipate myself from my parents so I could say I'm broke and poor so I can get Pell Grants and aid for college because they wouldn't do it. So I had to go petition the courts to do that. So that was kind of a little bit of a smack in the face.
Hurt the relationship with your mom?
Yeah. Well, my stepdad was there, and they were together from that point in time. But yeah, it was a different thing. You know, it just kind of never went to a different direction. I think what happened was when I became adult, she just it's like, well, he's an adult, and now we don't need. He's not a kid anymore, and we're going to do our stuff. And it just kind of turned out that way. So I know. So anyway, that happened, lost the scholarship, and I'm like, well, what do I do now? I was like, well, I don't know what to do, and I can't make enough money to pay for this out of state and everything else. So I went ahead and went into the Army at that point in time, and it's like,
how old?
What's that?
How old?
19.
19, okay.
Yeah. It was like graduated high school, college for about a year, and then that happened, and then I was off into the Army at that point in time. So always been a little medical of some sort. I did the ski patrolling stuff. I was an EMT, I was younger like that, and, did first aid classes and stuff. So it was always some sort of medical one way or the other. So, so when I went to the Army, I just went into the medical route and did the medic program and went that way. So that was kind of interesting. That was a weird experience. My military was weird. It was a little sad from that standpoint, but I wouldn't have met my wife, and what would have happened wouldn't have happened otherwise. So,
sure.
But I did that, did all my basic and advanced training, came back from that to my unit. CEO said, well, you got some college and this and that, and you want to go to OCS. So I was like, well, sure, I'll go to OCS. So went through OCS, but then he said, well, if you want to go back to college, I can embed you in a reserve branch, and you can do reserve duty and then go back to college at the same time that you're going to OCS. I was like, okay, well, that sounds pretty cool. So did that, and it was terrible because it's like it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, once a month for a year and a half. So it's like going to basic training once a month for 4 days, going back to your world, eating pizza and beer and sleeping, and then get ground on for 4 more days, and then go back for 3 weeks, and then do it again for a year and a half over and over and over again.
Yep.
It's better just to do it off and just rip the Band-Aid off.
Sure.
It was terrible. So did that. Towards the end of it, we were doing our officer basic, selection, and they were like, your eyes are good, your ears are good, we have slots. Do you want to fly helicopters? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And so I was slotted for Rutgers for flight school, and then this is when Clinton came into office. And so he did a lot of base closings and military budget cuts and stuff like that. So they came back and said, well, the flight slots have been cut, and you're not going to have a flight slot. So I was like, well, great. So what am I going to do? I was like, well, we're going to put you in like admin. So I'm going to be like a Quonset administrator, archive records supervisor, and community or a Quonset hut in Missouri or something. They're like, yeah, something like that. I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I was the shortest lived officer probably in history. I got my commission. I resigned my commission. I went back to the unit they embedded me into. I finished off my original contract, and then I left at that point in time. It was a little disillusioning and disheartening, but I just met my future wife at that point. We weren't together for very long, and if I would have done that and went off to training, I probably would have broke up with her because she was just a new girlfriend at that point in time.
Right.
And so if that would have happened, we wouldn't have got married, we wouldn't have kids, it wouldn't be what it is nowadays. So, that's the agenda. I have no idea why it happened, but it happened that way, and then we went from there. So then I went back to college. I got a degree in microbiology at that point back at Colorado State as well, too. And so it was at the veterinary medicine and biomedical science department.
Okay.
And so I did a couple of years worth of infectious disease research. It was called the Arthropod Infectious Disease Laboratory. And so I studied DNA, plasmid, genome manipulation on mosquitoes for sterilization for knockout genes and stuff like that, and tracking of bovine encephalitis pathologies in cattle brains and stuff like that had never been tracked before. So I was doing PCR and electrophoresis analysis and tracking the progression of the pathogenicity through the brain and stuff like that. So
I have no idea what that is, but it sounds interesting.
And so So it was kind of cool. It was fascinating stuff. It was amazing to get down to the DNA and RNA and figure out how stuff is coded and what tells everything what to be. So
did that kind of change your trajectory of which direction you're going to go?
Change the trajectory on that, yeah. So I did that, and then I was like, okay, let's go to medical school, because I'm kind of heading down this road on this stuff, and it was like really cool. I was having a good time with it, and so did that, and I applied to Houston because we wanted to move to Texas at that point. It's like, let's go to Texas, and so I got accepted to an MD PhD program at the Health Science Center down at Houston. They were developing a new multi-drug resistant tuberculosis vaccine that was becoming prevalent, and so I was going to be one of the researchers and developers on that. Problem was the PhD program was about 6.5 years long, then another 4 years of medical school, another year of intern, and about 3 or 4 residency after that. So by the time I got done with the residency and 100+ hours a week of residency work, and not having a life, I would have been in late 40s by the time I got done with all of that. And my wife and I were just like, I don't think we want to give up that much of us to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it. So I took a fellowship at the University of Houston. I taught in their sports medicine department, did biomechanics, and taught that for a couple of years. Did a master's there. And then while I was doing that, I was like, all right, what are we going to do after this? So we looked at different options, and then I looked at chiropractic stuff, and it was kind of weird because before I even went to school, I'd never been adjusted before. I actually kind of thought it was a little kooky and a little quackery stuff.
Yeah.
but did more research on it, and there was more freedom in how you can do some things and less freedom in how you could do other things. But what I saw there was they were trying to kind of find maybe root cause of stuff a little bit more, as opposed to just like, here's a pill and take a pill and cover it up type of thing. So it seemed to kind of coincide with our ideologies a little bit more. So, all right, so we did that. So then I went to chiropractic school and went through that, and then graduated, licensed, and started practicing after that. So
yeah, and thanks for popping my rib back in before the show.
Well, hopefully it helped.
Walking around this morning, I'm getting ready for a fight and training hard and feel great. And bent over for get some milk to make my latte in the coffee shop, and just felt it go,
Yeah, nothing like having an ice pick sticking in your back. So.
Oh, man. And my comment was, thank God I got Dr. Jones on the show today. He can adjust me before we talk.
Well, here we are, so glad to help.
So get out of chiropractic school. At that moment, you thinking you're just going to be a chiropractor the rest of your career?
Well, at some point, I was like, okay, you're working and working, but I'm broke and poor, and, they don't make a whole lot. And now I've got $250,000 in loan debt from going there and everything else. And so, I'm working for this person, working for that person. Found a place that the guy was going to be retiring, so he brought me in, was kind of mentoring me to take over the place. And he came up one day after I'd been working there, and he's like, oh, I sold it to another guy, and he doesn't want anybody else, so you're out of a job.
Nice.
And so, threw me under the bus on that. So I was back to square one and this and that. So did that a little bit, kind of tried to just find the right home for me. Couldn't really find it. Found another chiropractor that was opening up a practice, and he's like, I need somebody to run this. I'll put the equity in. I'll have somebody run this, and we'll partner up. And then down the road, if you want to buy it, you can buy me out, and it can be your practice. And I was like, okay, good. Sounds like a great deal. Very nice guy. Did a good service for me. Helped me out a lot. Gave me a nice opportunity at that point. So we did that. It was going well. It was moving the way it needed to. The needles were moving. It was fun and getting exciting. And then our first son was born. And so Connor, and so during his birth, he ended up suffering a massive stroke on the left side of his brain during delivery. And so that cost him about 25% of his brain. And so it took all that. And my wife actually retained her placenta during the delivery. And as they tried to remove it, they tore her uterus, and she dropped 2 some odd liters of blood, went into hypovolemic shock, and was that close to coding. So they put her in for an emergency D&C and transfusions, and apparently she did. years later, they told me that she coded 3 times on the table and resuscitated her.
Oh, wow.
So went down that road. Now I got a son that's entered in the world that's, massively, infarcted on that side of things. And, they're all telling me that, if he's lucky, he could walk with crutches and probably going to have an abbreviated life and have pretty substantial cerebral palsy and probably be blind because one of the regions that was hit was the occipital lobe, and was the visual cortex. So they said he was probably going to be blind and probably not be able to walk and all this other kind of stuff. So
That's got to just hit you right in the heart.
oh, yeah. I was like, and then my wife, she's wrecked herself trying to get fixed and trying to recover herself, but she's also semi-blaming herself for this too, because she's the one carrying this child, and now this child that, and it's not her fault, obviously, but still in her mind, she has that little piece that's saying that, I caused my son to have a problem. So she's got a little of that she's dealing with. So I got emotional issues with my wife that she's trying to get worked out, and I'm trying to do that, and trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing with the son and when I'm going to go down with that and that sort of thing. And so that's when I kind of let myself go, and that's when I started stacking all the weight on. So I gained a bunch of weight at that time because I just wasn't focused on that.
Just stress.
Oh, yeah, it was everything, And so, yeah.
Did you have depression at that time?
I wouldn't say I did, but I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
It would be hard not to, It was a little bit of a brutal time, I mean.
A lot to carry. I mean, the first thing I thought is you got your wife, your son. You're not super close to your mom and family, so who did you have to support you?
Yeah, no, they were gone. No, there's nobody. It was just us and her.
It's a heavy load.
That was it. I don't have any family from that standpoint. I have an aunt and uncle in Arizona that we're close with, but that's it. I don't have any other family out there. Parents are passed away now, and my grandparents had passed away, and it was.
So was there ever a time you were like, screw this, it's too much?
No, because I had a couple things. I had made an oath to marry this woman, and to me that was an oath I committed to her. But I did it in front of God, and I made an oath to death do us part in front of that. And it wasn't going to be I wasn't going to one that was going to create the death thing. So I had an oath there that I committed to that I wasn't going to walk away from. And then I created a son, and my son, he didn't do anything. It wasn't his fault. He didn't have to be born or has to be created or anything else. Yep. So I have an obligation to be a father to this child that needs a father. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to check out and give up. And it's like, I can't. To my standpoint, it would have been a cop-out. Everybody goes through their own demons and handles their own battles, but I couldn't see myself doing that because I just would not be the one that would give up on these people. It wasn't for me to do.
That's awesome to hear.
So,
my wife's situation, you hear all the time. Once a lady comes down with a terminal illness or something, the man says, I can't handle that, I'm out, and they're gone. It's like, I just can't even imagine leaving someone at that stage,
No, I mean, if anything, that's the time where somebody needs somebody the most. And you're going to walk out on them because you're not strong enough. I mean, come on, don't be pardon me, but don't be an asshole. I mean, the person going through the problem has way more problems than you have the problems. Yeah. Like, seriously, come on. If that's the biggest thing you got to worry about in your life, then suck it up and be a better person.
Yeah, suck it up, buttercup statement is a good one at that
pretty
point.
Much. Yeah. That's my thought.
So how old were you then when your son was born?
Well, he's 15 now, and I'm 56, so I guess it was 40, 42, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we waited. I mean, she kind of put me through college the rest of the way, too, working. So we waited till we were a little bit older to have kids versus younger because we wanted her to have the opportunity to stay home with them as opposed to work. And I wanted to be able to give her that back for helping me get through college on the other side.
So she worked and helped you get through the schooling and stuff, and then you started with the kids, and now she's going to stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
You had another child, right?
Yep. So that was Connor. Gavin's 18 months behind him. So with it being just us, we wanted them close together so they could grow up and back each other up and be there for each other as a family. So I guess my wife calls them Irish twins. And I haven't quite figured out what that means. It's like, is that because they're so close together, or was it a drunken escapade, or what's the whole point of that? But anyway, so we did that. Because of Connor and the problems he had, I ended up getting post-grad fellowship certifications in neurology, naturopathy, clinical nutrition, and pediatrics to see what I could do for him. So I did that, which gave me more of an information and data set to help more people with as the time went on. So I did that. But
what made you go down that path instead of just finding someone that already had the experience in it?
Because all I wanted to do was test and give them a drug. And that was it. I went, I don't want to badmouth stuff, but I went to Cook's, and, they have a fantastic program for certain things. But my experience with them, it didn't sync with my brain, from what I was looking at. And years later, I found out why. And my wife had withheld some stuff from me, but I know why she did it too. But he was in the NICU, and I got pictures of him. He's 8 pounds in a room full of machines. You couldn't even see a human being in the room because all the machines that he was hooked up to in there. And he was just isolated. He's laying in his incubator by himself like that with no interaction. They'd come in and check the machine and walk away. This kid had a stroke. He needs neurological and environmental stimulation to regrow and help the brain. And
it's human in touch, right?
Yeah, nothing. He wasn't getting anything. So we're in there, and we're interacting, and then we're out, and the rest of the time he's just sitting in this
by himself.
Yeah, that's it.
World War II, they did that. They had the baby farms.
Yeah.
And they just went around every so often and stuck bottles in the babies' mouths, the nurses.
Yeah.
And all the babies died.
Yeah.
So
they didn't have any mental stimulation. So, when you're developing a brain, it needs stimulation to grow and have experiences and to respond and create more neural pathways. Well, they weren't getting any because he was just hanging out and static like that. Well, fast forward, the reason being, and I'm talking with the docs and stuff like that, and they're like, I was like, well, what's going on? Well, we're just watching and stabilizing and monitoring. And I was like, okay, well, fine. I was like, well, what's the next move? Well, we're just watching. It's like, no, what do we need to do to get him out of here? Well, and they were very hesitant and this and that. And he's like, well, he needs to be able to latch and he needs to be able to do this and so on and so forth. And, fast forward now, come to find out, they were just going to stabilize him and send him to a care treatment facility and basically until he passed away. That was the plan, And so my plan was to get the metrics made, get him out of there and rehab him. And, because at that age, if you have a problem, especially in the brain, that's where most of the brain is developing at, is the early years like that. So if you're going to fix something and you're growing a brain, the best time to fix it is when a brain is growing, that you have brain stuff to fix the brain with. And so in my mind, it's like, okay, well, we need to fix him. And they weren't thinking that way. So we're on totally two different spectrums as to our method of care for this kid, for my son. And she didn't tell me that at the time. She told me years later that that's why there was so much pushback and stuff going on. I'm like, well, I'm glad you did, because otherwise you'd probably be visiting me down in Huntsville right now. Because I would have, because I refused to accept that. And so anyway, so that's where I got all the other training and education. So then that gave me the opportunity to have, I delivered Gavin, our second son. So that was a cool experience.
At home or?
Where were we? No, we were at we were in the hospital, but we were using a midwives group. Now, at that point, I already had the training stuff, so I was already doing treatments and care for a lot of the pregnant moms that were coming from the midwives. So I developed a relationship with them and things like that. A lot of breech babies and things like that were coming through. So I had techniques I could flip and turn the babies so they could do vaginal deliveries without C-sections and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I was doing a lot of work like that. So I got to know the midwives well. So we were in the hospital, and the midwives were going to be the one that were going to be doing the delivery, but they checked everything out. I was like, yeah, no, everything's good. He's okay. It's like, go ahead and take over, and if you need me, let us know. And so it was funny because we had a photographer, and I swear it was the hilarious thing. She caught me at the moment right after they told me. My eyes are big as it is, but they were big as saucer plates as she told me. And she snapped a picture, and you could see it on my face because I was literally just told that. And then my face lit up like that.
Wow.
So there wasn't any planning involved with it. It was completely impromptu from that standpoint. So that happened. But he had a big head. His head was as big as his brother's head at a year and a half old for my other son. Gavin's head, when he was born, was as big as his, not actually a little bit bigger. So he had a big head. So it was hard labor for Michelle to deliver him. We nicknamed him Stewie, by the way, from the Family Guy. So, so he, anyway, long story short, he ended up ingesting some meconium, and then when he delivered, he went into respiratory rest and coded, and he was down almost 10 minutes before he was resuscitated. So, again, second son with neurological deficits walking into the world, too. So he did better, though. They both did well coming out of this thing, but he did better than Connor as well, too. So now my master's degree was also from a Department of Education in the sports medicine area. So I have a master's of education, too, and I taught. So I had a teaching background. So because of all the stuff and because of what we needed to try to do to rehab him, we homeschooled him. We would put him in a program to do that. And so now Connor's 15, Gavin's 14 and a half, I guess. And they're going to graduate high school next year with 4.0s, both of them.
Both of them?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's a big turnaround.
Yeah, yeah.
Stroke, 25% brain to 4.0 graduating.
Yeah, yeah. So when people say that, oh, well, the doctor said, oh, they're going to have cerebral palsy, he's going to be in a wheelchair, he's going to be blind, and this and that and the other, excuse my language, but, I think it's kind of times,
Yeah.
It's not us to say, I mean, it's us to try to do what we can and fight as much as we can, in my opinion, and then the rest of it we can give over to God, and, but I think he gives us a choice to decide what are you going to do about it, You're going to give up and fold over, or you're going to fight back and do something with it, So kind of did the fight back part, and it did okay.
That's awesome.
So
that's cool.
We went down that road. So that's what they are right now, and they both want to go down the road. Connor, because of all the strokes and stuff, he's very interested in psychology right now, and he's taken an AP psychology class, and he's got 100 in the class, and it's the first class he's ever taken it. He wanted to start with AP instead of taking a regular class, so he's like, I want to do this one. So he took it, and he's just killing it because he's got a personal vested interest in it, and he's decided that's what he likes, and it's just a sweet spot for him to be at. So he's doing well with that. Gavin's kind of cool. He started a little jewelry business on his own, so he makes his own jewelry and stuff like that from scratch and stuff like that. And
so he's the entrepreneur side.
Yeah. He was talking to my wife the other day. He's like, I want to start some clothing business, and I was like, dude, it's like, let's get you two.
Let him do whatever he wants to do, man. Those are the guys that have changed the world. Yeah.
So he wants to start all these businesses, and Connor's dialing in on his his psychology and his neurology and stuff like that. And they both want to go to school and be doctors as well too. From like kind of follows like. So that's their game plan, and they're on track with that. And they'll start their AP classes here after they graduate at 16. Then so by the time they're 18 or so, they'll have a couple of years of college already behind them.
Yeah,
and just
great.
keep going. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So when did after that what's next? You got the two kids.
So I got the two kids. So my wife doesn't like living in the city, so we moved to the country. We're out by Weatherford. It's just more peaceful and nice, and had have about 5 acres, not a lot, but a couple acres, clearing brush in the backfield, working through all that stuff, and had a burn pile going on the brush, and then that was a fun time. So then a wind gust came up. That's what we were talking about earlier. That's when the wind gust picked up, and it blew the flames on me from the burn pile and caught me on fire. And,
we're going to share that photo of your arm with the viewers so you can be able to see that, because it was it blew my mind when you showed me that picture.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean, I think there's a difference between being terrified and being afraid, and I think being imminently in danger of being burned to death is more terrifying than being afraid.
Yeah.
It was a weird experience.
Well, you said you smelt it and heard the crackling. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't want to be too.
Actually on fire.
I don't want to be too graphic.
We'll have disclaimers up beforehand, so you're free to. We're hoping the show gets really down deep and touches some folks, and I think it's important to know how bad it actually was.
Well,
and how you treated it.
Well, okay. Well, I'll do that. So I'm a Gen X kid of 60s and 70s, and so back when we were a kid. And I mentioned this already to you. There was these little trinket, crafty things called shrinky dinks, and so they were little plastic things that you cut out and that you put colors on and stuff, and you stuck them in the oven, and they shrunk down into the size they were supposed to be from that standpoint. So when it was happening, I felt like my arm was a shrinky-dink. And so I felt, when the flames hit and caught me on fire, I felt my skin retracting. So it was like a shrink wrap. So the skin was tightening up and shrink wrapping on it. And I felt that. And then I felt the skin, it couldn't shrink anymore. And it started tearing apart as it was cooking. But then now it got down into the subcutaneous fat. And that was just a fuel source. And it started flaming up even more at that point. And so that's what was going on. And it hurt, but it's even today it's really weird because I wasn't focused on the pain. I was focused on putting it out so I didn't die.
And how are you putting it out?
I was rolling around on the ground, putting it out on the ground. You know, again, I was a paramedic and stuff like that for a short time, and so I was stop, drop, and roll. And so I was stop, drop, and roll, and rolling around on the ground and rubbing it out and putting it out. You know?
So what part of your body was actually on fire?
It was my whole left arm, and then it flashed and hit the left side of my face and neck and shoulder. I heard it coming. You ever hear a fire when it starts rumbling and it starts roaring? And I heard it, and I was like, oh, crap. And so I knew what was getting ready to happen. So I had put my hands up, and I torqued to the right a little bit to twist away from it a little bit. So my hands got hit really bad and melted my fingernails off. That's when my fingernails are all messed up, you know, and that sort of thing. And then so my left arm got hit really, really bad from that standpoint. And so that's what happened with that. So when it flashed, it hit me in the face. That burned my corneas, so I ended up with cataracts and scars from the fire all over my corneas. So I had to deal with all of that, too.
So would you go to call 911, get an ambulance, go to the ER?
No.
This is the crazy part.
So, no, I didn't do that. I mean, I didn't know what to do. So years before, I had a lady cut me off when I was riding a Harley, and I laid it down and peeled off the side of my arm and leg. So I was like, well, I don't know what to do. So I went home, and I got in the swimming pool, and I cleaned them off in the swimming pool. So now I got debris and dirt and rocks and grass all over my arm. So I'm like, well, let me go in and clean it off in the swimming pool again. So I got in the swimming pool with all that stuff on me, and I cleaned it off in the swimming pool. It was a good idea, and it worked really, really well. But that's what I mentioned to you earlier, too. Imagine pouring bleach on a burn, because the pool is full of bleach, chlorine. And so that's what it felt like. And that was actually more painful than the actual burn itself, which in and of itself was actually a good thing, because when I was experiencing that kind of pain, I was like, okay, good. At least my nerve endings are intact and I can feel this. So knowing and understanding at least that part of it, it was terrible and it hurt really, really bad, but at least I could feel it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay because I can feel this.
And see, that right there to me is a big point. It's a different way of thinking about something. Massive pain, where most of the time your brain says, this hurts, get out.
Yeah.
Same way with cold plunge, we tell people, appreciate the cold and the uncomfortable because it's about to hurt.
Yeah.
And then when it hurts, appreciate the hurt because now you're that much closer to being numb.
Yeah.
And then you can stay in the full 6 minutes, right?
Yeah. And you're dumping shock proteins and you get an experience out of it.
Yeah, but a lot of people would have jumped out of that pool really fast before they got it all the way clean.
Yeah.
Saw infection, but instead you thought about it of, it's a good thing that I'm hurting.
Yeah.
That means I still have my nerve endings.
Yeah, because I was afraid if I got in there and I didn't feel anything, it's like, oh, I know what that means, I don't think a lot of people maybe understand that concept, but I did, and I was like, okay, well, I can feel it, so I got a fighting chance here, So yeah, I'm cleaning it off, and, I think what happened here was, and it's kind of a little graphic, so sorry for that, but when it was in the pool, all the burned tissue was kind of like swaying around like kelp in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's what I equated to. So I looked down and was like, oh, well, that's just burned dead tissue at that point. So I just reached down and I ripped it all off. So I tore off all the burned tissue parts down to fresh, clean cells around the margins and the edges.
Uh-huh.
So there was no retracted, dead, burned tissue left because I pulled it all off. So by the time I got done and got out of it, it was all torn off, just down to fresh, clean. There was no burned tissue anymore.
And so no skin, right?
Yeah,
Just meat.
Yeah. It was pretty pretty chunky at that point in time.
Yeah.
So then from that point, it was, Silvadene, silver nitrate, and bandaging, and,
And is your wife there?
yeah.
And what's she saying?
Well, so that was the thing. So I was in the field by myself. So after I put myself, I had to walk back to the house. Yeah. So I walked back to the house, after being burned, and she was taking a nap in the bedroom. So I opened the door in the bedroom, and then the first thing out of her mouth was, "What's that smell?" And
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I woke my wife up, and I was like, "Well, it's me. I got burned. It's pretty bad, but I'm okay. But it's pretty bad. But
I'm gonna go in the swimming pool and rub my arm a little bit.
yeah. But it's like I'm gonna need some help here, and that sort of thing." So she actually did really well. I tried to keep it, under control. So
Was she telling you to go to the hospital?
kind of, yeah.
I mean, that's a
little
major
bit.
burn.
Yeah, I know, it was pretty substantial. I mean, and then I tell people like, "Well, did you get grafts or something?" I was like, "No, I didn't get any grafts."
Yeah, because your arm looks. I mean, from sitting right here, I couldn't even tell you had any scar tissue.
Yeah, there's a little bit of pigmentation change here, and that only started like this year. Last year, there wasn't even any pigmentation change.
It's just amazing.
So it did tremendously well. My big thing at that point was, did I inhale it? Did I get superheated air? Did I cause damage and burn my lungs? Am I going to get pulmonary edema from this? Am I going to have problems with that? I'm also concerned, am I dumping a lot of protein into my kidneys, and my kidneys going to have a problem with excess protein release? So I was really monitoring my urine output, monitoring my respiration, make sure. That was my biggest concern. Once I saw it, I was like, my hands were there, and I was like, okay, I can recover from that. But the other parts, that's what I was concerned about, was if something's going to happen from
Which
that
again
standpoint.
is the last thing most people would even consider or think about.
Yeah.
It's just the arm itself.
Yeah, well, that would, in my mind, those were at that point, once I got over the initial, that I had everything still that I could work with, then that's when I figured that part out. I was like, okay, let me make sure this stuff's going okay. And thankfully, I did okay there. And so I didn't have any problems with that, but I kept hydrated. I kept a lot of fluid moving. I was monitoring output because, again, I was aware of this. I'm like, let me make sure I'm going to be okay with this.
Sure.
So I did that, and then every day it was a wrap, and every day it oozed plasma through it, so I had to make sure I was keeping my hydration and my electrolytes balanced out because I was losing so much plasma through the burn and everything else, which will get a lot of people too. So I was worried about secondary bacterial infection. I was worried about fluid loss. I was maintaining and checking and monitoring all of that, and did okay. But every day that thing caked and dried on there, and then I had to wet it and loosen it and then rip it off and then put a new one on every single day. And I did that for about 6 weeks and went through that process every single day over and over and over. And yeah, that was pretty excruciating too, to clean that and do that. But I think that's what drove it to be able to get fixed up so well.
So a normal person, just out of knowledge, I mean, a burn like that to me, I would think you go to the ER, they hospitalize you, and you stay in the hospital for weeks.
For a while, I would
and probably
imagine.
do skin grafts and all this other stuff.
Yeah, a lot of times that's going to be like a standard process. Now, interesting, I had a patient, and it was kind of funny because we bonded. So I started working on him. He was a cowboy, and it's really a little ironic. So it was the same left arm. Now he had retractions and scarring all over his left arm. Same place, same situation, same everything. I was like, yeah, I've been burned too. I was like, yeah, I've been burned. He's like, yeah, we were out and, we had a campfire going and, the campfire did this and I got burned from the campfire type of thing. I was like, wow, this is really ironic.
Yeah.
But so that was the situation. He went to the hospital. They did the debridement. They did the scrubbing thing. They did the cleaning thing, and they did it that way. And he ended up with all the scarring and infiltration and everything like that. I went the other way, and I didn't end up with anything like that. But it was a really weird story because, like I said, it was almost the exact same mechanism that caused exactly the same thing, and we did two different pathways, and we had two different outcomes as a consequence of that. So
How did that experience strengthen you after the fact?
Well, and it's just like a veteran that has to go through a problem and rehab themselves and have the fortitude to do it. It's like then perspective on what things are problems, not problems, turn into different issues. Like, what's a big deal and what's not really a big deal at that point in time,
Mm-hmm.
I turned into a little bit of a mantra, and I tell this to patients too. It's like, My day consists of 4 things. I ask myself, first off, did I wake up this morning? Yep, I'm vertical. It's like, okay, well, I didn't die that day. I'm vertical today, so God gave me another day, so I better do something with it, And so then the next question is, what am I going to do? And it's like, well, I have four things. It's like, did I try to take care of myself in some way? So, yes, I worked out, I did this, so on and so forth. Okay, I got that marker. So do I take care of my family in some way? Do I try to be a mentor to my sons? Do I teach them something? Do I provide financial and I take care of my family financial? Yes, by going to work, I take care of that. Do I learn something? I educate myself. I try to learn something. I learn something from a patient. Whatever I can learn, I learn something to better my brain every day too. And then the 4th thing is, did I help somebody? Well, by default of what I do, I'm trying to help people every day. So if I help people, if I learn something, if I physically take care of myself and I take care of my family, those are my 4 markers. And if I do those, that's a good day.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a good day. So that's my perspective on a day, And then I look at it as like, what else could a day be? What else could you put in it to make it a whole lot better?